Okay, in this video, I'm going to continue the tutorial series with a video on extrusions. So as before, we're going to start by creating a new part. So we'll go File, New, Part. So, as I mentioned in the last video, sketches can be created as independent entities or as part of the workflow of creating a solid body. And so in this case, we're going to create our sketch as part of that workflow. So instead of coming over to the Sketch tab, I'm going to stay here in the Features tab and hit Extruded Base Boss. And the way that an extruded base boss works can be seen in this animation here. Essentially, it pulls some kind of sketch along a linear distance. So we're going to go ahead and hit Extruded Base Boss. So we still have to place our sketch on a plane. And so as we did last time, I am going to select one of the pre-made planes. And in this case, I'm going to select the top plane. And again, I'm going to start by creating some initial reference lines. These are not required. I simply find them to be convenient. Okay, so for the solid body, let's go ahead and make a tube. And we'll do a rectangular tube. So what I want to do in this case is I'm going to do two rectangles. And since we've already done a center rectangle, in this demo I'm going to do a corner rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and select the first corner and then select the second corner. And I'm going to do exactly as I did in the prior video, where I'm going to set this at 65. And I'm going to set this at 110, it was. So note that when I did that, it didn't keep the box at its initial center. It changed the center. The actual point stayed the same, I believe, is the very first point that I picked. So in order to recenter the box, what we're going to do is also add some dimensions from our reference line. So I'm going to hit the reference line, and then I'm going to hit this side, and I am going to change this to 55 because that's 110 divided by 2. There's actually another way I can do this though, so I'm going to double click the dimension to change it, and I'm going to add a mathematical relation in the Smart Dimension window itself. So I'm going to hit equals, and then I'm going to select this dimension and hit divide by 2. So it's now going to set it at the 55, but it has this symbol here that tells us that this isn't just a number 55 that's been put in, that Solidworks has an equation, it is computing this value. So if I change this now to 100, this automatically updates to 50. Change this back to 110, and now I'm going to do the same thing on this side, and I'm going to set it equal to this divided by 2. Okay, so now we have a box, but we actually wanted a tube. So I can do this by creating another rectangle on the inside and dimensioning it. So let's go ahead and do a center rectangle and do 2 dimensions, one here, and set it to 5 millimeters. And then I'm going to do a second dimension on the other side. And let's suppose I want them to always be the same. So I'm going to set equal to the other wall thickness dimension. And that's a perfectly good way of doing it, and it works. I'm going to undo that though and show a different way of doing it. So I'm going to delete these dimensions by selecting them and hitting delete. And then I'm going to select all of this and delete it. Delete, delete. So I'm now going to accomplish the same thing by doing offset entities, which is this feature up here. It's not in this geometry section that we have been mainly constraining ourselves to. It is one set of tools over. So it goes trim entities, convert entities, and then offset entities. So I'm going to hit offset, and I'm going to select one line. Now if you look over here on the left, you'll note that Solidworks has automatically put on select chain. If on yours that's not automatically selected, go ahead and select it. So in this case I want it to the inside, so I'm going to hit reverse here on the left hand side. And I wanted the offset to be 5 millimeters, so I'm going to set that to 5, and then I'm going to hit check. And now I have the same set of geometry accomplished much more simply. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and exit sketch. So now Solidworks has guessed that the contour that I want is this inner contour here. And that is what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and set the length of the extrusion, which is set over here on the left. So we have multiple types of extrusions, and we're currently set to a blind style extrusion, which means that we're going to go for a set distance, regardless of what else it contacts. And I'm going to set this to, instead of 10, I'm going to set it to 200. Right, and then I'm going to zoom out a little bit, which on mine is set to the scroll wheel. And I'm going to hit check. And so now I have a box beam. Okay. So, what if I wanted to then edit the length of this? I've made it, but now I want to edit the length. So in that case, I have two things that I can do here. But the simplest way, we're going to go ahead and right click on this, and we're going to say edit feature. And then let's set it to, let's say we want it to actually be longer. We're going to set it to 300, and that changes the length. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video here, and then in the next video I am going to cover extruded cuts.